Hi everyone, welcome to the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters is of course Thursday night, 9 o'clock South African time. And I say South African time because we certainly have developed quite a global audience and not only an audience, but guests as well from, well, all over Europe, I guess. We haven't really gone, we can't really have the New Zealand and the Aussies on, they're still fast asleep. But let me run through the guests and welcome our first timer. His Twitter handle is under his name there, at Chris LA Charge or La Charge, and we'll call him Frank. Frank, welcome to the show. Great to have you on. You've been posting on the Good for the Game forum as CL Rugby for some time, and there was quite a demand on the forum to say, get this man on the show, and you dropped me a line, and here you are. So good to have you on the show, and welcome to the Handicap.
Thanks for welcoming me. A big pleasure to be here. I've been a big fan of what you guys are doing and the forum, and I think in general the community there, a lot of nice people, good love for the game. So big pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Maybe just tell the guys watching quickly how you got into betting, how long you've been betting for, and where you're based at the moment.
So I live in some French native. You guys can recognize the French accent. I'm based in Czech Republic, so basically Central Europe. But as I said, I'm originally from France. So when the time allows it, traveling in different countries as well, because first of all, before betting, I'm a big fan of rugby. So just being in stadium, watching the game, and just enjoying the show. So I've been betting for probably intensively for, I would say, good 7-8 years. So especially on rugby, with the different tournaments, the South Hemisphere. I'm actually not a very big fan of the top 14, so top 14, as we said. That just find it a bit boring. So I know that as a French, I should not say that, but no. Otherwise, I'm watching probably at least close to 10 games per week. So drive my girlfriend crazy, but that's part of me now. So just I think it's a nice sport to watch and also a nice sport to bet, obviously.
That's it. That's part of the package. If she wants to date you, she's got to put up with rugby. It's going to be interesting to know how many guys are going to join us tonight, as opposed to watching the Masters golf, which is of course started. And one man I can already see is keeping half an eye on the golf. There is Oraclepedia, Oracle Rugby. Gav, welcome back to the show. Who's your money on for the golf?
Yeah, my main bet actually was Tony Finau. I really liked his form coming into the tournament, and he's played twice at Augusta, and he's got a 12 and a 5. He came 12th and 5th, so just a decent price. He was 33-1 and 7-1 about the places, about top 5. So I did have a bit of that. I also backed Tiger Woods as well. I see, looking at the one oak I didn't back that I did pencil in the other day was Westwood, and I see he's on -4 at the moment. So yeah, I'm quite excited. As I said to you just before we came on, I'm quite surprised they got on to play today. There was so much water and had come down earlier today, and Chris has just pointed out that they've got good drainage there, because it doesn't look like there's a single drop anywhere and the sun's shining. But yeah,
they got a hydro system, apparently, like state of the art, that just sucks all the moisture out in quick no time.
And and that brings in Chris, who's becoming a regular on the show, at the Crow Tips on Twitter. Chris, you took the boys on last week, but I think you did pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, the Sharks and the Bulls again. Yeah, the Bulls paying the Bulls at the moment, so happy with that. So yeah, no, it's going on the South African side. It's going well for sure. And
excellent. Well, Guy Stone joining us on Facebook. We're all, of course, live on Facebook and also on Twitter. And I just want to stop for a second because Stephen Marks has joined us as well. And Stephen, I haven't seen your name for a couple of weeks, but you actually won a 500 Rand voucher at Stoker's Arms. So contact me after the show, Brent at goodforthegame.co.za, and I'll put you in touch with them. It is transferable as well if you are unable to make it. So just wanted to stop that one there just for a second. And welcome to the guys in the live chat. We've, of course, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. And as Guy said there's no reason why you can't listen to the show and watch the golf at the same time. In fact, Oracle is actually going to be a guest on the show and watch the golf at the same time. But gents, lots of rugby to get through, so I'm going to get straight into it. And we're going to start off with Super Rugby Unlocked. And let me stay with you, Chris, for the first game, which is, of course, coming on Friday night. We've got the Griquas up against the Sharks. I've had one of those busy weeks at work where I haven't been able to track betting movements and that sort of stuff. So I don't know what sort of line movement we've had. But I can tell you at Sunbet at the moment, Griquas plus 18.5, Sharks minus 18.5.
Yeah, I think it's been around about that all week. I might have seen it at about -19 at other places as well. Yeah, these high handicaps are tricky. I've been watching obviously the build up to this week, and Sharks got hit with a bit of COVID. And looking at the team sheets, they've made, I think there's 3 changes. JJ from the Mesh is out. The Frank, I can't think of his name now. So for me, some kind of the big players in the forwards at least are out. But the backs look solid and stable. Foldman comes in. So in terms of this game, I think Sharks are just going to carry on, and they're going to be hungry for the victory. Kind of a similar game is going to play out like they did against the Pumas, and rack up quite a lot of points. Griquas just came off a battering from the Stormers. They couldn't break them. I'm sure they're going to give it everything, but this is the time of the tournament now where the cream comes to the top, and I think Sharks will just carry on, probably put a decent victory on them. Handicaps will be quite close, quite right. If I was to play, I would go the Sharks on the minus if I was to play, but I really like the points in this game. So I'm probably going to wait out for the points, even if it's probably going to be over 60, I would imagine. But at the moment, I haven't put any money down, but I think Sharks will cover the handicap.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the conductor, whose 3-minute rant on Western Province coach Dobson last week was really something to behold. If you haven't seen it yet, do go and watch last week's show. Skip to about the 15th minute, and you can see him get absolutely stuck in. It was classic. Also got Rugger Bugger on the live chat. And then Peter Paul coming in and saying, Sharks points at 36. Peter Paul, just let us know a couple of bookies we can get that. I had a quick look around now. I didn't see anything. So 36, I would definitely be an overs player. But let's go up to Frank and get his opinion on the game. Frank, I know you said you do a lot of writing on Southern Hemisphere rugby, so I imagine you've been following the Super Rugby Unlocked quite closely.
Yes, I did, and I think I was also part of the Lucky Shark train last week. I think it's a game that I still don't believe how the shit has lost that one. I didn't see they butchered literally 3 tries. But I won't complain with that. So yeah, I was also with a very similar one on the Stormers handicap as well. A bit of weird game, I have to say. I was not so convinced about the Stormers games, but I think it's the same since the restart. I think for that one, I think it's not an easy one because the handicap is quite high. So I think I'm pretty sure the Sharks will get the bonus try victory. No question about that. Yes, they were hit by a couple of players missing, but I think the guys getting in as well are pretty good. I look as well at the odds of Volmink as a try scorer because he's playing against the Griquas. This guy is for me is very underrated player. But yes, I'll also have a look at the points, and if I would be forced to put something, I would probably go on the Shark handicap as well. But not with an amazing confidence, to be fair, because it's almost 20 points already. It's quite high, but yeah, maybe a reaction from the Griquas as well. But I don't think they were really capable of doing better. Even if I still believe, I think their lineup is slightly better than the one they had against the Stormers against. So yeah. I'm a bit not so convinced about that one, to be fair. It's probably one I will skip.
Right, yeah, I must say I find myself leaning towards the Sharks. It is a high handicap, but I also find at this stage of the season, the teams like Griquas and that, their depth starts getting tested. The fact is, we're coming off COVID. I think it's someone on the show last week might have said it. It might even have been Oracle. I'm not sure. The adrenaline was going in their first game and stuff, and now their bodies have taken a battering for a few weeks. I think the Griquas could be there for the taking, but the bet I like is the one that Peter Paul put up, and Thoughts on Sports, Neil has also put it up, and that is Sharks over 36.5 points. I like that one. And let me then, and Chris has given that the nod of approval as well. And let's lead into Oracle Rugby and see what he thinks of the game.
Yeah, Brent, I got to tell you, I'm sitting here puzzled at listening to almost all 3 of you suggest that the handicap's high. This handicap's not high. High is 28 or 30. This is the end of the season for the Griquas. They're going to get smashed here. I think that if the Sharks had lost 10 more players to COVID, they'd still win this game by 30. I think this one's race over. And for those guys looking at points, at 60, going high at 60, I wouldn't be touching that. I'd be going high at the 36 on the Sharks, as Thoughts and Sports has suggested, and a nod from Chris on the left. I think there's far more value going high at the Sharks. The Sharks are far more, they have a higher probability of getting over 36 than the game has of getting over 60. This is Durban. There's not a lot of points in Durban generally, but if there are going to be points on Friday night, well, there are going to be points, should I say. They're all going to be scored by the Sharks. I can't see the Griquas getting much. I honestly think this Sharks team will score probably around about 45 or 50. I don't think the Griquas will get 10. They're a rubbish team at the end of the season for them. In fact, these guys are going into another round of 6 games in the second section of this tournament, the Currie Cup section of it. I think they're going to be murdered. I think we're going to see handicaps that are 35 and 40 by the time this competition ends. 18 is an absolute steal. With regards to last week, the Sharks, Frankie just mentioned they were a bit lucky. They were a bit lucky, but I got to tell you, they were nowhere near as lucky as the Bulls were. The Bulls were super lucky. The Cheetahs had the game in their hands at the end. They stuffed it up. But at the same time, I was very puzzled by the I don't know if the puzzled is the right word. Maybe concerned is the right word. The Sharks kept going for tries in the beginning of the game. They kept denying or kept turning down the option of 3 points, and that was really odd to me. You're playing a decent team. I see Sean saying they need the bonus point. They were, going for tries against the Griquas is far different than going against the Cheetahs, going for tries against the Cheetahs. That was a very odd decision they made. And the Sharks should have won the game, but they did win the game, but they should have got in front a lot earlier and should have had control of that game, but they didn't. They let the Cheetahs back in. Cheetahs stuffed up a few things, but yeah, I lost money on that game, but I definitely lost on the Lions. And if I had to play that Lions game again tomorrow, I say the wrong team won the game. That the wrong favourite and the wrong team won the game. I'm absolutely convinced that the Bulls were lucky to win that game. They had an intercept try, they had a charge down that resulted in a try. And for some reason, the Lions gave the ball to the Italian, Gino Lombard. And, he stuffed up a reasonably easy kick. So, at no point in that game did I think I was going to lose that bet, obviously, until the final whistle. I don't know.
Well, that leads us nicely into the next game, Gavin. I'll start with you, unless anyone wants anything to add on this game, on the points lines or anything on the first game.
I agree. The 60s is high. I didn't know that it was 36. I hadn't seen the points. That's definitely the play. I would take that over the totals, definitely. So that's I confirm with that for sure. I see Sharks scoring over 42, 45 points.
Yeah, but I must tell you, I was on Western Province over, well, not Western Province, I keep calling it Province. I was on the Stormers over 34.5 last week, and if you read my Citizen article blog on Good for the Game, you'll see I decided we were away for the weekend. I decided to tempt my kids into a bit of betting. And it was just really interesting, the different personalities. My daughter's so much like me. I gave them money on the Bledisloe Cup under 53.5, and that won. And I said to my daughter, are we doubling up on the Stormers? And she didn't hesitate. She said, Dad, reinvest. I said to my son, are we doubling up? He said, okay, half the stake, And he's like my wife, and my daughter was like me. And of course, by the end of the weekend, my son made the money, and my daughter and I were pretty close to square. But anyway, you can go and have a read of that. And if you are new to our show, then you can subscribe, and also go down below and go and check out the Rugby Forum thread, and also subscribe to our Friday newsletter. But let me start at the top of my screen now for the next game. It's the Lions up against the Pumas. And Frank, here we got another big handicap, and these big handicaps can be tricky. But we've got the Lions at home, minus 19.5. I can just tell you, as someone who's living in Johannesburg, there's been a lot of rain this week. And normally rain would not bother me at Ellis Park, because as long as it's not raining in the game, the drainage is superb. But there's something wrong with this Ellis Park pitch at the moment. It doesn't look good. So just to mention that and lead you in there with a handicap of Lions minus 19.5.
Do you want me to go for that?
Sorry, yes, Frank. Yeah, you go for it, man.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'll jump as well on the Lions comment before. I was backing them, against the Bulls. Luckily, I got the 5-5, so you can imagine the roller coaster I had over the last minutes with the tap and go at the 30 seconds before the time runs up, and then the kick that's luckily they converted. I think clearly like a coin flip, but I think that's correct. I think they should have won that game. It's they had it under control and they simply let it go. Same story. I'm always a bit struggling with handicap, which are a bit around 20 points margin. I still believe they'll definitely hammer the Pumas. But again, this is probably not the games I will focus on. I'll rather put on the third one of that journey. So I will be interested still to see the point for the Pumas, because I think the Lions defense is not perfect, and they play quite fast, and I'm pretty sure they'll concede. The Pumas as well. The Pumas offensive game is also relatively good. If you compare maybe with the Greekest one. So I'll have a look at that. But same story. I will probably go for the Lions handicap, but not really convinced.
Oracle, let's bring you in second on this game. Your Lions, and I have to agree with you. Last week, I thought the Lions blew it. I'd also been on a winning streak, and I took Lions over 25.5 points. So it's interesting you mentioned that penalty, because they got a penalty, and they scored 22 points. So I knew that if they got a penalty, they had to go for posts, and I had no chance of winning my bet. And that guy took that quick tap, and I just thought, this is it. They're going to score a try now, and I'm going to get out of it. Of course, they got another penalty and took the kick. But Oracle, what do you think of this one? Big handicap, but can your Lions do it? And are you backing them to do it?
Not big. This is another small one. You'll see. Wait till the end of this tournament. You'll see big handicaps. We haven't even got there yet. These are small. I mean, this is the same handicap that the Stormers started against the Pumas in Nelspruit. That's what they started at 19, this game. It's not enough. And that was a rubbish Stormers team. Lions will smash this Pumas team. This one's also race over. I'm sorry. Both of you. You can take both of these minuses with confidence. I don't care how much water is on this Ellis Park pitch. The Pumas can't swim. It's race over. It's just, I'm sorry. No, there's nothing here. I just wanted to point out the conductor made a comment just now saying that I'm going to lose my housewife viewership to the new Frenchie up at the top above me here. But I got to say, I went and got a bit of a fade haircut here since the last show. I looked quite shocking last Thursday night. And, walking into the office, I'm getting all of these little 25 and 26-year-old women going, geez, you look like you're 30. So the Frenchie's accent is up against the fade from Assegas, so don't worry about that.
Gavin, all I can say is you remind me a hell of a lot of myself in the way I talk half the time. Anyways, but let's bring Chris in on this game. Now, Chris, big handicap games, you worry about them? Or like Gavin, do you see opportunity and say the handicap's not big enough?
Not big enough yet.
Not big enough yet, yeah. What I do see is a lot of points. The handicap, I might stay away, but if Griquas could score 40 against the Slice teams, the Pumas are going to put some points on the Lions as well, I think. Lions will definitely, I think, will score around 50, so I think it's going to be quite high. And so where in my bookies and stuff, I haven't got points lines yet, so I haven't looked at it. But the handicap, I wouldn't play because also, I suppose if the Lions are as good as Oracle says, yeah, they'll pound this handicap to smithereens. But in previous games, Pumas have run Lions pretty close and got points on them before. So I'll stay away from the handicap and I'll be looking at over points in this one.
Right. Well, let's stay with you then, Chris. The last game of the weekend, it's the Stormers up against the Cheetahs. The Stormers on Sunbet at the moment, minus 5.5 points. Yeah,
close one. I think it might be a little bit high actually. I mean, I like the Stormers. The Stormers were much more better last week. Again, it was the Griquas, but at least they tried. They played a lot better. They're throwing the ball. It was quite a weird game actually. I think even Frankie was saying. So this will be a different game. I think it's gonna be a tighter game. I think France Steyn, like I even mentioned last week, I called the Sharks last week. I said Steyn and the team's a big thing for them, and he was out. I was smiling, obviously. Not that it was the reason why they lost, but I don't know how much that disruption is for them, how much training they're getting in with them running around in that back line. But for me, home Stormers, 5 points probably on the button because I can see Stormers winning by like 2 or 3 probably if they win. The handicap again. I'm not confident on. I'm not gonna. If I was gonna play, I'll take the plus. But I'm not confident on either.
Is this a 1 to 12? Is this a Stormers 1 to 12 game? Maybe.
I was
1 to 12, probably 16, 17 to 10.
I got 1 to 12 on the Bulls and the Sharks as well last week, which I also mentioned on the show. I had that in my bets as well, so that's why it was pretty good last weekend for me. So I see a 1 to 12 game. Yes, I'm going to stay away from the handicap because I can see Stormers winning by 1 or 2 if the Cheetahs don't put it off, but I don't see the Cheetahs winning.
Right, let's go to Frank on this game. I think you indicated that this was going to be your main interest.
Yeah, so you may disagree with me on that one, but I will definitely back up the Stormers for two reasons. First, I cannot back up the Cheetahs when they play away. It's just this is a different team. They keep being disappointing when they play away. I mean, if you look at the history, especially Stormers, Cheetah in general, they have a tendency, or Western Province, to get hammered when they go there. I think as well, I like so the question mark is really what's the fitness level of Yanti Esch. Herschel is back for the Stormers at 9. I think he's a game changer. He's for me is one of the best in South Africa. At number 9, he brings speed. He brings offensive skills. I also like the Stormers starting with a pretty strong first row. I think it's Kitchoff, Malherbe, and I forgot the third one. My bad. Ntubeni. Yeah. So I'll definitely back up the Stormers handicap on this one, because I think it's just a converted try. I will also look at maybe the first half handicap, because the Cheetahs are not the best starters. We've seen that already. Stormers home with the strong first row. I think they'll cover it. So I was a bit surprised to see as well that from the Cheetah that I think Hoopa Moye is not in the team list. I think he was on the bench last week. He was playing a few minutes. I was expecting him to be back. I'm not sure if he picked up an injury or not. Obviously, if Stern is not in the mix, I think he's bracket for now. This is for me. This is a direct bet for the Stormers.
Right, interesting one. I just want to bring up Stephen Marx's comment here as well. He's just saying, can't back the Stormers with Willemse at 10. And I must admit, that is a worry for me on the Stormers. I like Willemse, but he hasn't had a great season. And more importantly, though, he's one of those guys, when he lines up a kick, you get a feeling he'd be just as well off if he closed his eyes and ran up and kicked the ball. And it would be sort of random as to went over. And I said, it does worry me. I don't often get into individual players' performances, but I thought Kalant last week was absolutely superb. He made space. You could just see the guy's just got a natural gift. The problem is that I think that Willemse is also a better fullback, and the way Galant is playing, I think Willemse is going to have to stay at 10. But anyway, enough about that. Let's see what Oracle Rugby thinks about the final game of the weekend in Super Rugby Unlocked.
Neil, Stephen Marks, 100% right. I did notice a spelling error, or maybe a grammatical error from Thoughts on Sports. I see he spelt the Cheetahs wrong. He spelt it with UNDER. He said he's trying to say take Cheetahs at Newlands and switch the TV off and enjoy your evening. I think he spelled Cheetahs wrong there. I don't know.
Spelled Cheetahs unders, did he?
Yeah. Spelled Cheetahs. No. He spelled Cheetahs wrong. Cheetahs should be replacing the word unders. I'm sorry, they've got the wrong favourite here. The Stormers will not beat this Cheetahs team. We all looking at the Stormers beating the Griquas last week, which obviously I said could happen, and the Griquas could have won by 10. I don't think the Stormers were any good last week. They played an absolute rubbish Griquas team. That was rubbish versus super rubbish. That's what we saw last week. The Cheetahs will sort this Stormers team out. I'm going to tell you that you can take. I'm not going to say -9. I'm not going to be a clown this week. I'm going to tell you can take the Cheetahs about the board at probably around about 16-10 or 18-10, maybe 2-1 if you're lucky. That's the play for me. Cheetahs on the board. If you guys keep punting the Stormers all week, I'll wait for a nice price on Saturday afternoon and I'll get involved in the Cheetahs. I don't know about the unders. I'm not sure too much about the points in this game, but I cannot see the Cheetahs losing this game.
Well, they're 2-1 at World Sports Betting, so pretty healthy price there. So if you like them on the board, I must say I'm struggling to back the Stormers with any confidence. I just haven't been impressed. Even last week against Griquas, although they got the 34.5, I must say I was sweating, especially early in the game. They were absolutely butchering it. So I'm very nervous to back the Stormers.
And sorry, I just want to mention one more thing. Chris was looking for high handicaps. This high handicap is way too high, Chris. This is the highest handicap of all three games.
Yeah, I just have a problem with the Cheetahs always. They I was following them as well. Same in the in the Pro 14 when they were playing there. They're just not the same team. When they travel, they're just not the same team. So
I don't know if there's an away problem here, Frankie, because there's no crowds. I just think the traveling team is very much in the game here. I mean the crowds. And not that we had big crowds, but Newlands definitely did when you look around South Africa. Newlands has probably got the biggest average crowd per game. And I don't know. There's no crowd there. I just can't see the Stormers winning this game. Never mind minus. I'd be very scared to touch the Stormers here.
I just think Stormers defense, it's been inconsistent, but I still think it's there. And I think they can easily hold out the Cheetahs. That's why and at home, I think they're on again, it's call it like they have to when they put it together, they'll put it together. And I don't believe bad teams have like 3 games like seriously bad. So home Cheetahs not a threat. I don't think they'll see it as a threat. They'll do the business.
Excellent. Well, quite a lot of support coming in for Oracle, and Sean Nicholas calling for those Oracle T-shirts we've been talking about for years. But anyway, if we keep on talking about Oracle T-shirts, we'll never finish this show. Let's get on then and chat about the Tri-Nations or the Rugby Championship, whatever you want to call it, test match between New Zealand and Argentina. This one's taking place in Sydney. And Chris, let's start with you on this one. I think there has been some line movement here. I'm sure I saw some minus 19 or 20 early in the week. I see now 25.5 points, New Zealand favourite. That handicap is getting big.
Yeah. So I took them at minus 21. So I was on the minus. I've seen some very mixed opinions about this game. Guys back in the RGs, and this is Argentina New Zealand game is a strange one because if you look back, Argentina put points against New Zealand they score over 10, 12 points every game, which is quite surprising because they can shut out Oz and South Africa no problem a lot of the time. But RGs seem to. I don't know if the RGs are just like totally gung-ho to beat the All Blacks, or All Blacks are just like, well, it's RGs and we'll win, and they get the game done. But look, I was on the minus last week, but I don't know if anyone I was following on Twitter. I changed my mind half an hour before. I said Australia's in the game. I thought I turned my back on that minus handicap, and then we were watching the game. It was still like, okay, surely New Zealand are going to come through here and end up winning the game comfortably. It never happened. I was also on chats, and the guys were saying, the New Zealand bench will come on. And I called it out. I said, Oz, with 3 points behind, I said, Oz have this game. It's just one of those games you could just see Oz were doing the business. New Zealand just were not finishing. They were all over the show. The changes did make a difference. Quality players, but they had no cohesion. They weren't. Remember, I said if they drop 3%, 10 to 10 international, that's huge. If Australia are on the up, for what I've seen, this one, yes, RG played. Australia A, I think maybe even Oracle's grandmother played in that game and only won by 20 points. So the people raving about that. Like, yeah, I just think New Zealand are going to have to bounce back. I think Aaron Smith and Mwanga is huge, especially Aaron Smith. I always believe a world-class scrummy is one of the biggest positives for any team. I think they've got a point to prove, and I think the RGs have no chance, and New Zealand are going to win by like 40, 50. So that's just my gut. But I know lots of people are going to probably oppose me on that, but I just feel New Zealand will bounce back, and I don't think Australia are going to. Argentina are going to be ready for it this week.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get too many people opposing you with Argentina on the cap. You'll get a lot of people, I think, sitting out the game on the handicap at these levels. And Sean Nicholas making the point there, perhaps go for the halftime handicap. Frank, let's get your opinion on this game. 25.5 is getting pretty large, and one of those tough ones to call.
Yeah, tough one. So I have to say I agree with what was said. I will not. It's hard to oppose the All Blacks when they lost a game. Because this team, the guys mentally they'll be strong. For me, Richie at 10 is a different story as well. He's their best 10. No offense to Bud and Barrett, but I think it's at the moment it's a different story when Mwanga play at 10, and I think it just brings so much to their games. I think I'm also extremely disappointed by a couple of choice made in the Pumas lineup. I don't like to point players, but for me as a French, seeing Sanchez at 10 is horrible. He's he has been absolutely awful the entire year so far with Stade Français. He lost his starting spot against Ernest Second, which is a French player that is probably not very well known. So it's like he's nothing. I'm not convinced about Sanchez at 10. I'm actually very surprised not to see Mitre even in the squad, because for me he's being fantastic with the Jaguars. In the last Super Rugby season, for me he's the best 10 they have. Cordero as well on the bench, big question mark for me. I mean, he's probably on my book, he's probably the best winger they have. He's playing fantastic rugby with Bordeaux as well in the French league. So a couple of choices that I'm not really convinced with Argentina, but they are going to fight. Yes, the lack of prep, but keep in mind that they have at least 5 or 6 players that are already starting their season in the top 14 in France, in French rugby. So they have a couple of games under their belt. The like of Mitre, the like of so obviously Cordero, Petit as well, with doing very good with Bordeaux as well. So tough one as well. I was lining to Argentina halftime handicap, but not with that lineup. So yeah, tough one to call.
Right, Oracle. What about you? This game? Is this the sort of game you're getting involved in? Let me make a prediction. If knowing the Oracle, I would say that he might just be on the plus here, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I actually agree with Chris. I think the All Blacks will bounce back. I think they're going to come in firing here. But the thing with New Zealand handicaps is they are overpriced by a couple of points anyway, because bookmakers know that punters are coming for New Zealand. And I know when I used to price the games up when I was running sports books, I definitely put on 2 or 3 points onto New Zealand happily. I didn't mind being the highest minus around the country. Just 25 is a lot, eh? It's not as high as that Stormers minus 5.5, just so you know. It's definitely not as high as that. It's high, but it's not as high as that. For me, this handicap with a decent New Zealand team in New Zealand has been around the 25, sometimes 21, 22. I know we've seen 27 as well. It is a neutral ground. It just feels a little bit too high. And while I agree with Chris, and I wouldn't be surprised if I lose my bet here, I'm going to have a small bet on the Argentina plus, and I'm even going to wait a little bit longer and try and get 26 or 27. But it's going to be a small bet, and it's just a sneaky feeling. It's a gut feel. It's nothing more than that. I don't want to turn a big minus New Zealand punter, tell him he's doing the wrong thing. I don't believe you're doing the wrong thing. I just got a feeling it's a try too much, or maybe a penalty too much. I expect New Zealand to win this game. I think Sean's right. I think they'll race into a bit of a lead, maybe a 15 or 16 point lead at halftime. Argentina will score a few points and maybe bring it back down. But, once it gets to the end of the game, I don't know. I don't think we're going to see 4 tries in the last 15 minutes. Argentina, as Frankie's pointed out, some of the players, or quite a lot of the players, have had some match experience. They haven't played as the Jaguares, or they haven't played as Argentina, so they lack the high level practice, I suppose you could call it. They could lose this game by 50, but I just don't think so. I think the pluses, it's just a small bet for me. I just want to point one more thing out to Frankie. Frankie, there's about 300 people that watch the show. You definitely didn't offend Bowden Barrett. Bowden Barrett is about 14 handshakes away from even finding out about this show, so don't worry about that.
Listen, compared to some of the guys we've had, like the conductor and couch critic on the show, you've got to go a long way to offend people more than they've offended people on the show, I can tell you. But interesting game, I must say, at minus 19.20, I was a New Zealand punter. I thought I was a New Zealand punter. I think the 25.5 is big, and yes, I'll probably be looking for points. I'll be looking at conditions here, and I'll be getting involved
what is the Argentina points? What is that points? Because that's something I might get involved in, actually. Is going over that and taking New Zealand out of my bet, so to speak. That's
out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look here. I'm just opening up Spread, what's it called? Spreadex overseas. They're pretty good with their points lines. Let me just see if they've
just
got.
a guideline,
Their total points is 53.5. Argentina, they've got 14.5, and New Zealand 38.5.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to go over the 14.5 for a small bet than I would be to take the plus 25. I think that's more something I probably would end up doing. Whereas I'm just shouting for Argentina to score points, and I don't care what happens in the game. That's In fact, you've now convinced me. So
yes,
yeah,
even though I didn't do anything, all I did was give you a quote.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm going to do that actually.
Look, I must admit, as a points punter, and I love my points punters, and I love all rugby betting, but often narrowing it down to one team is quite nice because you just take, you don't have to worry if you go over Argentina points. It's actually a nice thing if New Zealand score 4 early tries, because then you go, and also, we can get the consolation.
Yeah, the other thing is, I know from experience, and let me tell you, I've been there, I've done that, I've got the T-shirt, I've seen the movie, I know how it ends. I watched the series, I watched 12 series actually. I know what it's like to go against that New Zealand minus, and this is a way to avoid the roller coaster of the New Zealand minus. In fact, it doesn't matter whether you go minus or plus. If New Zealand are involved in the game, it is a roller coaster. And this way you get off the roller coaster. You go into, what do they call it at Ushoka, the lazy river ride. That's what this is. Backing Argentina points is a lazy river ride compared to the tarantula, whatever they call that thing at Goldry City. I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
Nice analogy there, Oracle. Just a welcome to Shane from Ireland joining us. I know he's followed many of Oracle's bets, and I believe he's bought himself a mansion somewhere there in Ireland. So how's it, Shane? Chris, you want to add anything before we go on to the Autumn Nations?
Yeah, I also agree with what you guys said about the points. I see someone posted the totals 53, I think. I quite like that as well. I think that's definitely in play. But again, just in my rugby watching, Argentina running into New Zealand at exactly the wrong time. They haven't played. New Zealand have played. New Zealand want to win. They're running into a train wreck.
Excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, this is a half a unit for me. It's a small bet. I'll watch the game. I'll have a really small interest. But honestly, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's one of those games you could back the Argentina plus, and they can be down by 9 points with 6 minutes to go, and you could still lose. Even the way I must tell you that, just going back to last week's game, I was on under 53.5 points, and I'd given my kids a share in my bet, so they were all interested. And I mean, at 8-all at halftime or whatever, it was race over. And then at the end, when New Zealand scored with 3 points to go, I think I was on under 52.5. Sorry, I was a converted try away from losing, and it's like you just got to be careful when you play those guys. But we better move on to the Autumn Nations Cup, otherwise this will be the first ever 2-hour show. And we've got this Autumn Nations. I haven't had a good look at it, I must admit. I know there's a lot of things you've got to look at as far as team selection goes, but let's start with Frank at the top. Ireland up against Wales here, and the handicap I can see Frank is minus 9.5 Ireland.
Yeah, so let's see what will be the weather in Dublin. I think it's been rainy the whole week, but it seems to be dry tomorrow. That's but this is Dublin. That can change within 2 hours. There is one thing that's never certain is what will be the weather there. I think Wales has not been very good over the past few games. I think the Irish team obviously at home is going to win that one. 9, I think it's here in Europe the handicap was around 9.5, depends. I'll still probably go for that at the moment, but same story, not with the strong conviction. It's maybe a bit closer than some people expect. Ireland hasn't been very good neither against France on the last game. I mean, the game overall was a bit shabby, but not too convinced. If it's not raining here, we do have the Wales point at 15.5. This is something anyway I'll have a quick look at. If it's dry condition, it doesn't seem that high to me. But yeah, I will. Same. It's not a game I'll place a strong bet on at the moment. But I'll look at the weather, because if it's getting really rainy, the Welsh team is going to struggle. The front eight of Ireland is way stronger.
Well, hopefully the Irish guys who watch the show, and quite a few of them, can keep us updated on Twitter and WhatsApp and the likes with the conditions there. I agree it's going to be important. Points line 42.5. 15.5 Wales, 26.5 Ireland, and I tend to agree. I think I've got a feeling that Wales are going to score some points. And interesting that quite a few of the Irish guys watching, Mark and Chris, saying as Irishmen they don't think they're going to beat the handicap. They think Wales going to beat the handicap. So that is an interesting one. Chris, let's go to you for your opinion on this game.
Yep, this is one of the early ones I liked. Wales on the plus. Yes, Wales haven't been great at all. The non-winning Scots won. Didn't. I
think he's gone. Can you hear me? Or am I gone?
I think Gavin's gone. I'm just going to mute Gav for a sec while you carry on there, Chris. I think it's Gavin's connection.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, I like Wales +9. I like Tipperich back. Wales is also one of these games where there's not many changes to a side that has been playing brilliant rugby for the last couple of years. I think they need to come right. They just need to needed some time under their new management and coach and all that. I think Ireland are the stronger team, but I definitely like the +9, and I like the Irish 1 to 12 here as well.
Right, let's go back and see if we've got Gavin. I've got a feeling that his connection. Let me just unmute him there. Oh, jeez, my computer's so slow.
Had gone, actually.
No, there we go. I thought so. My connection hasn't been great tonight. I must tell you, but your picture seems to have frozen. Either that, or you incredibly.
No, you froze
and holding a smile.
And Chris and Frankie were moving, and you frozen. I don't know.
Oh, is it okay?
Anyway,
we can hear you, Gav. Go for it, mate.
All right, yeah. This handicap's probably well set. I haven't had a bet on this game yet. I did have a sort of a sneak peek at it, and I think that I'm going to avoid this game. And my advice to anybody is, if you're having a multiple, you can probably stick Ireland on the board at the sort of 3 to 10 or whatever to boost it up. I don't think Ireland will lose the game. But the plus is definitely in play. I'm not confident either way here. So I'm probably not going to have a bet on this game. I haven't had one yet, and I'm unlikely to have one. But my suggestion would be, if you do have multiples, stick Ireland on the board in just to boost it up a bit. But I wouldn't have a big bet on it, and I wouldn't get involved in the handicap here.
Right, Oracle, I'm going to stay with you. Italy against Scotland. Italy +10.5 at Sunbet.
No, Scotland will beat that. That minus. I know we've seen 3 and 6 and that sort of thing, but Scotland are in different level compared to Italy at the moment. Again, no crowd. In fact, they can't even have a drink afterwards. I think the bars are still closed in Italy. I don't know. Well, they've reclosed. I don't know what it is, but yeah, no. For me, I'm all over Scotland. Yeah, I think -10 is not enough. Yeah, not enough.
Right, let's go to the top of the screen then. Frank, you yourself on this game. I don't know. I would have expected a bigger handicap, perhaps, but I haven't seen the team selections. 10.5.
Yeah, there is no Finn Russell. It's a big fan of the guy as well. No, I think I agree with that. But this is one of the games I kept potentially for live betting. Hoping for maybe just an early points or early try from Italy. I was looking at the team sheet. The Scottish bench is strong, especially the forward. The forward bench is way stronger than the Italian one. So if the Scottish get the games quickly, I think it's a done deal. If the Italian manage to score first, then I'll probably get in. But I agree with what said. The Scotland team is definitely better as well. There are a couple of players in the Italian team as well missing, or a couple of guys that I would like to see in this team that I'm playing. If you compare player by player, you probably almost pick up the 15 Scottish players and maybe the bench as well. So I think it's without the crowd. If I haven't checked the weather, but I will say at least it's probably more it's drier than in Dublin, but I'll have to check that. I'll probably look at getting in a live bet if that turn the way I will expect it, or I will enjoy it to be.
Right, we're going to go on to Chris now, just to put up Shane's comment there. Not to distract, I trust you all of the masters on side view. We do, and yeah, they are scoring pretty low today. And I know Oracle's head seems to have frozen on my picture, but I can imagine it's bobbing sideways a little bit to have a look at that. Chris, your opinion on this game, 10.5?
Yeah, another one I eyed up 2 weeks ago, and probably my best bet of the weekend is on the Scots -10. Yeah, they did enough for me. Like, they showed enough. The changes, I don't think are going to make much of a difference. I think they're going to be just as strong as well. The bench is actually probably stronger than some of their starters. Funny enough, I always thought this fixture when Scotland were bang on average that Italy would actually beat them more often, and they actually haven't. Scotland have their number on this team for some reason. You wouldn't think it would be. I would have thought Italy would have beaten them more often than they have. I think it's like once or twice, isn't it? So I think Scotland.
I think it's once, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Scotland just have it. I think this time round, I'll be honest. I mean, no offense to anyone Italian. I've never rated the Italian side. They're jumping around celebrating turnovers when they're 20 points down against England. It's a little bit ridiculous. Maybe they start early and they can hold. Yeah, like Frank was saying, would give them a chance. But I like Scotland. Yeah, I think it's a 15, 20-point game at least.
Right, Chris, well, let's stay with you for the last game. This was an interesting one because some bookmakers, and they were obviously taking prices from the same feed. They actually priced up in the week somewhere around England -15.5 against Georgia. And, of course, punters absolutely climbed in. But the bookmakers, I don't want to name any now, but they hid behind the fact that it was a sort of, I suppose, an error in the system or whatever it was. But pretty disappointing. I think the bookmakers also need to take the responsibility to do their homework before bringing their prices out. You can't just see a line come through from overseas and say, right, I'm sticking that up. I mean, I don't know who made that line, but they must have been high on crack or something. I don't know. Unbelievable line. But anyway, now we've got a massive line, Chris. And here we're looking at, 41.5. I'll have a look at World Sports Betting and see what they are. But I mean, 41.5 at some bet, 40.5 at World Sports Betting. This is big. But Georgia, what do we make of them?
No, well, no. This is generally a game I actually stay away. What to make of Georgia? No, not a lot. So I think this is a big win for England. They've made some changes as well, interesting changes. One of my favorite players, like a lot of people this season, Jack Willis starts. I think Jonathan Joseph on the wing. Atoja's playing flank. So if I'm staying out of this game, but I think England need to also prove that they're better than they were against Italy as well. So I think they're going to be ready for a big game, and I think that handicap will be covered, but I'm staying away from it because it's just one of these. I just don't know enough really about Georgia and this England team together. I'm not quite sure what they're going to produce, but I'm sure Eddie Jones has got a plan to put Georgia away comfortably. But I'm going to stay out of it.
I imagine Georgia will do a bit of spoiling early on. Chris is saying at 40, surely you've got to be looking at the plus. Yeah, Chris, you would think so, but the problem with that is, the team, if they're a 40-point underdogs, they're going to take a hammering. So at some stage in the game is going to break open, and you're probably going to be hanging on for dear life at the end. Let's go to Frank up at the top and see what he makes of this game. It's a big handicap. Did you get on early on the minus, or were you involved yet here, Frank?
No, I did not touch that. So I mean, let's put it that way. If England wants to win by 40 plus, they will. I mean, yes. I'm not sure if you've seen the Scotland-Georgia game. So basically, Scotland was not playing very well, but there was like five class. I mean, Georgia has been going backwards since their really strong game on the previous World Cup. Even their pack actually is not as strong as it was used to be. The Georgian pack got hammered by the Scottish one, literally. So. I mean, you are talking about a team that, yes, they have a good fighting spirit, but the game has evolved in 10 years. It's not, just being strong in the scrum, which is no longer the case, and in the ruck is no longer enough. I mean, their backline is, sorry to say that, but it's rubbish. It's not even most of the players are playing in some of them in second league in French, and they are not really top players in the second league. So it's pretty poor. The only thing that worries me a bit is the traditional nice November weather in London, which is going to be rainy. But I would say, and so what? Because the English pack is going to wall over them. They'll go to the touch, they'll kick to touch, because the Georgian are not yet aligned with the new laws. They've considered a lot of penalties against Scotland. They'll do that against England. They'll go to corner. They'll maul them over. So I maybe look at some. Let's see the odd for a couple of forwards try score, on the English side. But, as I said, if England wants to win by 50, 60, they'll do that. But, do they have an interest in doing so? That's it.
Yeah, so that's the thing with a big handicap. Will the team stay motivated and keep on coming? I think Gav is still with us. Gav, this game, it's a massive cap.
No, not high enough. Frankie's right. If you watch that Scotland-Georgia game, I was on the plus there. I was crying, I think, in the 28th minute. I don't even think I had to get to the 78th minute to cry. My bet was lost very early in that game. They scored a try around about halftime or just after halftime. I can't remember exactly when it was. I know they scored about 10 or 12 or 15 or something like that. They got thumped. This English team, you can put the English D team on. They'll thump this Georgian team. They're rubbish. He's right. Frankie, 100% right. I agree with you. And the only thing I disagree with you is there's no doubt that England will win this game comfortably. I know they want to, and they will.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye as well, maybe on the Georgian point, the under, because for example, if they give us something around 8 or 9,
you can go under 4.5 with confidence.
Yeah, because they can literally they can literally score 0 on that game if the English team. I mean, we were watching the game against Scotland. This is the first half. They could have been by 40 plus, literally. So
that's right.
Just Shane asking about the guy Godzilla who used to play for Georgia. Is he retired now? I'm sure. I mean, that guy. I remember him as well. He was a brute. I think he played Frank, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's no longer there. Eh?
Yeah, number 9 was fantastic. The Ike was an under 20 a few years ago, but I can't. Yeah, it's not as good as he used to be. And I think Frankie's right. The Ikes are playing in low division rugby. They need to get into bigger teams, and the country will get there. We saw it with Argentina. But yeah, this Georgian team's rubbish. He's right. Rubbish is such a beautiful word. Americans use that word trash. Doesn't sound great. Rubbish sounds proper rubbish. Beautiful.
Sorry, pardon my French here, but you're correct. I mean, just to give you most of the Georgian players, like the good one, are playing in the French league, first or second division. They have a couple of good players like Gigashvili. He plays for Toulon, but they are good first rower, top 14 players. It's still nowhere near the English pack, so they'll get hammered at scrum. No question. So
just to go back to I just want to say one more thing, Brent. So often with these teams is you might get a sort of an over under 7.5 for the Georgians. So this is where it gets interesting, and I've managed to talk bookmakers into especially the phone-in ones, not the online ones, obviously, but sometimes these guys offer you alternative points on these teams. And what I was going to say is you might find the 9 to 10 or even an 8.5 to 10 about a 7.5 or maybe even an 8.5. You talk them into giving you a plus 3.5 or a plus 4.5 at 2 to 1 or 5 to 2. That's where the value is, because I don't see this team scoring a try. And a lot of the time they just want to get one kick over the poles. And I'd rather take 5 to 2 about under 4.5 than 9 to 10 under 7.5. I don't know.
Yeah, Brady just making the point there that the first yellow card for Georgia could be interesting as well.
Yep,
that brings us to the end of all of our internationals. Chris, anything to add from you on that game?
Just convinced me over the minus now completely. Like I did say, I believe England are going to win comfortably. I didn't watch that Scotland game. I just saw.
No, if you watched that, you would have just shook your head and knew exactly what to do.
And I agree. I think England were pretty poor against Italy last week, and they need to prove that they're much better than that, and they got perfect opportunity to do that. So I think they will.
I reckon Italy beats Georgia by 25 if they play them tomorrow.
At least.
So we're missing. Oh, Brady's mentioning we're missing France Fiji. So apologies for that. And the reason I'm missing it is because Sunbet haven't got it priced up, so I didn't actually realize it. So let's quickly run through France Fiji. Frank, I'll start with you there. First of all, do you know what they're betting on that game? Because sorry, the bookie I'm looking at the moment doesn't have it.
You won't see it because Fiji, I think, has at least 4 or 5 COVID-19 cases at the moment, so they don't even know if the game is going to go on. Radradra has been tested positive, for example, so I think he's going to a second test, trying to play that one. So, it's too many unknown stuff here. I can tell you France is looking for this game because Fiji beat us last time, and this was a hard one to swallow. So there is a bit of blood in the water for us on this one. The French team, there will be a couple of changes because we have a very weird agreement between the club and the federation that they can only play 3 to 4 games on the next 6-1. So it's the game number 3 now. So they will have to rotate the player. They cannot line up the best team. But I think France has really improved. But I haven't seen any handicap yet because of this. I think the bookie are a bit worried about this COVID situation for Fiji. But there is no way we lose this one.
Okay, so we won't spend more time on that. I think, Gav, we're gonna move on to a bit of Mitre10 Cup now.
I'm going to spend some time on that game. Sorry, the game Frankie's talking about that the Fijians won. I think it was player bet, and they had a match bonus, and they force you to take even money. So I took my 9-10. I stuck the French at 1-14 to try and get over even money, and I lost that bet, and I'll never forget that. And that's just ridiculous. And I have no idea how they lost that. I was also involved in the game where Tonga beat them. I lost that one as well in the World Cup in New Zealand. Yeah. The handicap here will probably be about 15 or 17 points, I'm going to guess, maybe as much as 20. I don't think so. I think it'll be about 15 or 17, 16, whatever, something like that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm getting involved in this game. I got burnt with that with the last one. I think the French are fantastic, but something happens when they play Fiji. A lot of the players play in France as well. So this one can, whether it plays or not, can play without my money. I won't touch it.
Excellent. Well, Oracle.
I'm going to go now.
Give us your best bet on the card.
Yes, I'm going to tell you that the Cheetahs is my best bet. And if you want to multiply, you can stick on the Sharks minus and the Lions minus onto that. But for me, Cheetahs, they got the wrong favorite, and this time the right team will win the game.
Right, thank you, Oracle. Good to hear from you, mates, and we'll see you. We'll speak to you on the weekend. Perhaps you and I are going to line up a bet. We haven't taken one for a while.
That's right. And Chris, thanks very much. And Frankie, cool. Nice to meet you, and enjoy your weekend. And go well. And I'll spend far more money on the golf this week than I'm going to spend on the rugby, though.
Yeah, the golf's going to be great. I'm not really involved yet. I just had a bit of a busy week, but I'm going to wait for the end of the first round and then start getting involved. And my initial fancy up front was Dustin Johnson. I think he's probably teeing off shortly, and we'll see how he goes. But anyway, guys, it's been quite a hectically long show with so much rugby. We still got a bit more to get through. So I'm going to start with you, Frank, on the Mitre10 Cup. I don't know if you just want to run through, if you've got the fixtures here. I can bring them on the screen otherwise. And perhaps just run us through your main fans, because I know you do enjoy your New Zealand rugby.
I do. So, and we had, I think, pretty good discussion on the forum on that. The thing is, like, Mitre is nice because it comes early in the week, so you can also kind of gamble a bit on the lineup and I mean, do you want me to go game by game and tell you what I would believe for each of them, or do you want to play that?
Yeah, you can go game by game. And Chris, just to ask you, first of all, do you have quite a few strong fancies in the Mitre10 this week?
I have 3 or 4 weeks. I can do it quickly, and then if I think probably Frank, you probably more on it than I have. But I do have a few fancies I do like. I can quickly run through.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me go. I'll go through the game, but we won't spend a lot of time on each of them. But I'll mention the game and
I'll just give my prediction, what I feel, and why, and then that's it. I won't.
Okay.
It's not my most confident competition, but I do have a few fancies this weekend.
Okay, excellent. Well, first game that we've got here, and I don't know why there's no. I think it's because I was going to bring it up, so I've maximized my screen and the bettings disappeared here. Counties minus 2.5 against the Stags. I think it is Southland. Chris, anything on that game for you?
Well, for me, I like Southland. I'm going with Southland on the handicap. Yeah, I think they played well last week. They are still something to play for. So I fancy them to do the job on Counties. I know Counties can be solid at home, but I like that 2 handicap Southland.
Okay, maybe run us through the rest of your picks then, and then we'll go up to Frank and get his picks.
I like Wellington as well. North Harbour it is, I think it is.
You say minus against Manawatu? Yeah, Wellington minus 25.5 against Manawatu.
Yeah, Manawatu. I think it's going to be a long day for Manawatu. I think Wellington they have to play. They have to play. They are going to play well. They need to play well. They're up against Canterbury to stay in it and perhaps even make it. I don't know if you've seen the permutations. I've never seen anything like it. What could potentially happen after this round of fixtures? But I think it's going to be a long, long day for Manawatu. So I even like Wellington on that handicap bar, and the weather's not too bad. I think they're going to give it. Do well. I like Bay of Plenty at home. I didn't like them in the beginning of the season, but I like them at home. Maybe what's the handicap? It was about 2, I think, at the moment. I would probably take the 2, but I even just like them on the board. And then I've been waiting for Canterbury all month to turn. The last couple of weeks to turn. They did last week, and they're gonna. I'm fully convinced they're gonna do it again because Auckland are they through. I don't know what their teams are going to look like, but Canterbury, I'm almost certain are going to play the same way they did last week against Tasman and easily put Auckland away. And I'll look out for the points there as well because I think Canterbury are going to put a lot of points past them, but I think Auckland will just throw the ball around for fun and stuff as well. You'll probably see a few tries. So I like the overs. So those are my four main players I like for Mitre Cup.
Excellent. And Frank, let's go to you then. Maybe just run us through. I know you fancy quite a bit in the Mitre10.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things which I agree. One, I disagree because I'm on counties this weekend. Just like the way they play. They play home. Also, remember that last year they lost against Southland. This was the first round of Southland. Was a big kind of humiliation for them. So I know they are looking forward for that game. They have an interesting 9 is going to play. It's a young player, very promising. The team looks strong. They got as well one injured player back in the pack. Southland away on dry condition because I think it's not going to rain. It's probably could be a bit different story. So I'll back up counties. I was on the board at the beginning. The handicap has moved a bit, so I'll be with there. And even if they don't play for anything, I think the last game at home, there should be a good crowd. I think they'll do the job. Northland, Waikato, I haven't touched too much that one. Just be aware that Northland is not going to play their traditional home pitch, but it's going to be a very difficult trip for Waikato. I think we're talking about something like 6 or 7 hours. It could be a bit of mess, so I'll probably stay away from that one. Otago, Tasman, the line has moved toward Otago because they are playing with their best team, but I can't touch Otago. They are too unpredictable. They've been completely amazing on some game, absolutely rubbish again on others. So Tasman is going full strength. They lost at home, so they also have a point to prove. It could be a high-scoring game. So if I will have to go something, if the handicap is going below 7 points, I'll go for Tasman all the way. Wellington, Manawatu, no-brainer for me. I'm also on the Wellington train. I think they'll crash the Turbos. Last game of the season, nothing to play. Wellington, again, they've been disappointing the whole season. Fair enough. With Kirifi not there, I think they are missing a leader, but they should trash the Turbos. Handicap is big, but I think they'll get the job done. Strongly as well on Bay of Plenty. Bay of Plenty at home is not the same team. This is a family team. I'm not sure if you sometimes you hear about the post-match interview for the players. They just enjoy running there. They just enjoy. The family is around. The crowd is close to the pitch. It seems to be a dry game. North Harbour have been good as well, but Bay of Plenty playing this season, I think they'll get the job done. Karpik is playing, Black is playing. I think the team is going to be strong. I'll back them up. Taranaki, Hawke's Bay. I'm just waiting for the lineup. It's possible that Hawke's Bay is sending kind of B team. Putting money on Taranaki is for me as difficult as putting money on the Cheetahs away. So it's a hard feeling. They've been, I don't think they are properly well coached. They have good players, but they simply cannot click on. However, if the like of Dixon are not playing for Hawke's Bay, and I have the feeling they may rest a couple of guys. The the defense of the shut shield has taken quite a big toll for them. I think nervously, stuff like that. They don't need a win here. They may finish second, that's okay, but it's not even sure that Otago is going to beat Tasman. So I think I'll look at that. I'll refresh and look at the lineup, and I may jump on the Taranaki plus here. Even on the board, at here the European odd is 2.4. It's quite high. If Hawke's Bay is sending a B team or a mixed team, last time they did that, they got trashed. Canterbury, Auckland, I think everything has been said. I was refreshing as well my betting app and jumping on the Canterbury +3. At the beginning of the week, hammering it like everything acute. Obviously, I'll still have a look at the Auckland lineup. You never know. They may decide to send a strong team. Who knows? But I will say, even if Auckland is sending a strong team, Canterbury has a strong pack, probably stronger than the Auckland one. At home, on a must-win game, I don't see them losing. Yes. People are saying that the Mitre10 and the Mitre Cup may change next year, so there may not be a relegation spectrum for them. But I don't think they want to take any risk. I think that they'll win this one. And if Auckland is sending a B team to Canterbury, even the 9.5 is not big enough. Because Canterbury can score. They are also a strong defensive team, so they can get the job done here quite easily. That's my view on Mitre. So I think more or less align with you, Chris. Just probably like a different view on counties. I've been quite wrong is banking counties, for or against the entire season. So let's see.
I also like the Otago. Otago screwed me over at the beginning of the season, so they were my stay away team. But I like the points there as well. I think if the weather plays ball on the Tasman Otago, I think they're both going to throw it around. If they're both bringing the strongest teams, it's going to be a little bit of a ding dong.
Fast game,
and they both have a propensity to leak points. So yeah, I think it could be.
So, Frank, let me just ask you then. I know there's other fixtures in Europe. We're not going to get into all the top 14s, but I know you mentioned I think it's the Pro. Is it the Pro 2 League or whatever that you play there? Is there anything else? I know top the Pro 14. We always wait for. We can't really get into detail now because we don't know the fixtures, but maybe just highlight if there's one or two games in Europe that you really like. Anything?
Yeah, so on the top 14, there will be an interesting one between Castres and Bordeaux. So it's hard to play against Castres at home, but I fancy Bordeaux to get a win here. Keep in mind that the Bordeaux coach is the previous Castres coach, so he knows this team very well. They go with a very strong team. The lineup is calm. So, this is the team where, Joseph Dweba is playing now. He's actually doing superb for the start of the season. The ex-Cheetahs hooker, I rank him as a very good player, and he's doing some very serious damage right now. So I think they'll win it. They're on the board. It's a 50-50 game from the book. I'll fancy probably a bit Bordeaux, not a strain confidence. It's always hard to back up a away win in top 14. It's in general team target their home fortress. I think Pau is going to beat Toulouse. This is what I was mentioning, because Toulouse is missing a lot of players on national duties, and they got a pretty bad injury streak as well. So they are very thin in depth. Colby is injured, for example, he cannot play. Justin Colby, there is I think Médard and Huguet got injured as well. So it looks quite bad for them. Pau is a strong team this season. They play so Whitelock is playing for them. The ex Black. They got a lot of good. They have a South African prop as well. I think it's Arense. I think it's an ex-Sharks guys. I'm not sure if I pronounce it well, but they go with more or less a full team. They are not on national on national duty. So the handicap is going to be, I think, 5 or 6 pounds. But in a parlay, it's the money line is pretty appealing there. And that's all I can say on Pro 14, because without the lineup it's impossible to bet the Pro 14, the top 14, because you never know what the team are going to do. And keep in mind that in France we are badly hit by COVID, so and they are not allowed to basically release information on player. So sometimes it's just you get surprised that the team sheet is completely not what was expected because few players are quarantined. So a bit tough. And on the Pro 14, I will probably back up Connacht to win over the Scarlets, but I may not go into the handicap, and I haven't checked the weather, but the Scarlet has been quite poor this year. Again, a lot of players on national duties, a couple of injuries as well. I think Connacht will at home will get the job done, but again, I personally have done the parlay between Connacht and Pau, for example, or I think it pays doubles. Seems to be a decent one for me. That's in 2 minutes. That's my quick view on North European rugby.
I know a couple of guys. I think there was someone else on the Good for the Game forum liked the 7.5, or on Connacht. So yeah, interesting. That Chris, anything on Europe for you before we get into our best bets?
No, I'm done. I won't be playing around with any French or Pro 14 this weekend. Thanks.
Too difficult. Chris coming over here.
There's too many things going on. Never been my favorite. So I really, unless I get a strong tip or feel, I'll play it. But I normally stay out of those comps.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, look how long. This is actually our longest show ever, 1 hour, 10 minutes, because it was just so much quality rugby to talk about. Chris just rubber stamping the Connacht there. But let's end it off, gents, with our best bets. Maybe your best bet of the weekend, but feel free to maybe give a couple, because we have talked about so much rugby. It's very hard to narrow it down.
Yeah. Should I go first?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Sure. Yeah. For me, I actually definitely like the Sharks overs points. That will be my strongest play. Then I have New Zealand minus 21. I was very confident with that. So that'll be my other strong pick. 25. Be careful, I would say, obviously, but I still think New Zealand will win well. I was saying the Scotland minus was up there. It's still up there, but I'm going to put the England minus above it. I think you're right. I think England are going to probably be way too strong for Georgia, and Italy could. Scotland, I still need a little bit more convincing, but I still feel that they're strong enough to beat that handicap. So I'll take the England handicap. So those three would be definitely my strongest. Yeah,
when you went England minus there, I thought it's taken a few weeks, but the Oracle's starting to rub off on Chris there.
Well, we seem to be rubbing it a little. Yeah, but
exactly.
I'll take that too, but I think the gents pushed me over. And I'll be far more confident to take that than to trust Scotland and Italy, even though I think they will do it. But I would trust England more than I trust Scotland on that.
Well, of course, our best bet goes out in the newsletter tomorrow. We also try to hit an accumulator from the show. I must admit, I've just been picking the wrong games here. We've been just missing the accumulators. But if you haven't subscribed yet, go below the program, and you can subscribe to that, and also check out the rugby thread, because the likes of CL Rugby, Frank, he posts quality over there. We've got the other guys like Brady and the conductor and everyone posting. It really is absolute quality on the Good for the Game rugby forum thread. And let me go to Frank now and say, give us your best bets for the weekend then.
So I'll park Canterbury because I think it's gone now. So for me, I like Bay of Plenty, as I said in Mitre. I think it's a solid bet on my book. I think Wellington also is a strong one for me. I've been eyeing quite a lot in Mitre this week. Then I know you guys disagree, but I like the Stormers. I think they'll get the job done with that team. It's if Yanti is playing well, as 9 is going to be a game changer for them. And I like as well the Shark minus. It was not my best bet, but I think you guys pretty well convinced me on this one. So I think I'll join the Shark boats, and I've been lucky with them last week, so that will be fine. And I think Counties is also going to get the job done on Mitre, and I'll have a look at the Georgia under as well when the pointers are being released. If it's as agree with Oracle, if it's between something above 7.5, I'll go for that.
Yeah, for under Georgia points there. Chris just making a point that thank you for the show. And Chris, thanks a lot. And thanks to all the guys who come on the live chat. It really does make the show just to have the contributions, whether it be information or witty comments about the Oracle. It certainly does make the show. What is my best get going to be? Well, the newsletter will go out tomorrow, but I must admit at this stage, I am leaning, if it's still available in the morning, to Sharks over 36.5 points probably is my best bet. I'm a little bit torn now in the New Zealand game. And yes, that Stormers Cheetahs games, I also find myself leaning to the Stormers, but I don't know. I just can't trust those guys. So for me at the moment, the Sharks are shaping up.
Yeah, I love my 1 to 12. I like a little treble this weekend. Stormers 1 to 12, Bay of Plenty 1 to 12, Ireland 1 to 12. I quite like that treble for a little value.
Excellent. Yeah, well, but then, and just to mention, Brady saying he really enjoyed hearing a familiar accent, because of course Brady's also a guest on the show quite often with his French accent. So yeah, good to have him. Brady, look forward to seeing you in the forum and then watching on Facebook. And I'm hoping this man's going to give us a weather forecast for Dublin. Dave Cooney, Dave, good to chat to you, and look forward to having you on the show again soon. Guys, I think that wraps it up. 1 hour, 14 minutes. It's our longest show ever, but it certainly was a good chat. And if you can't find any bets on this show, then I'm sorry, you're not going to bet at all this weekend. There's Masters Golf to watch now. I'm going to watch and get my bets on. Frank, thanks very much. Great having you on the show, and I look forward to having you on again. And thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys, for inviting me. Pleasure. Thanks, guys.